Hello, I'm Chris from TechSpert, and today we're going to be checking out this almighty bugger right here, the Onyx Boox Tab X. An A4 sized eInk tablet with a larger screen than even the mighty Boox Tab Ultra. It's an absolute beast with a 13.3-inch ePaper display, and it comes bundled with a stylus if you want to get all sketchy, but it certainly ain't cheap either. Around these parts you'll be paying €949 for one of these bad boys, otherwise in the States it's $879. So is it actually worth that cash? Well, let's whip it out the box, take you on a full tour, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what has Onyx actually chucked in this very, very black box? Well, you got yourself one Boox Tab X, and blimey Charlie, it's an absolute Godzilla. And you've also got yourself one Type-C USB charging cable. You got yourself Onyx's stylus pen and a quick start guide, and that's your lot. So let's begin with the design. And the Boox Tab X, as I might have said several times already in this video, is a freaking monster. You got a 13.3-inch display, certainly one of the biggest tablets I've ever fondled. Although that said, it's surprisingly skinny at just 6.8mm and light as well. It weighs less than 600 grams. So it doesn't actually feel too cumbersome to clutch, even one-handed. It is a simple plastic finish, however. I have noticed a little bit of creakiness in the frame down here in this bottom right corner. Thankfully, the bezels surrounding that mighty display aren't too thick and chunky themselves, just thick enough so you can comfortably clutch the Boox Tab X without your fingers and thumbs actually intruding on the screen. And you've also got a lightly patterned lip here, as you can see, just add a little bit of flair, bit of interest to an otherwise fairly standard tablet design. You flip around the Boox Tab X, that back end has a soft touch finish, just adds a little bit of texture, feels nice on the old fingertips. No massive logos like the iPads or anything, just a subtle bit of branding down here. This is also where you'll find those stereo speakers. Not much to speak of in the way of ports and buttons. You've got your Type-C USB connection down below for actually powering up the Boox Tab X. This could also be used to connect external storage for backing up, etc. And up top you've got a power button, and that's it, no volume rocker or anything like that. Now if we power up the Boox Tab X, we are faced with a functional, shall we say, desktop. There's certainly not much excitement going on there, but you've got fast access to your documents, your notes, and your various apps. If you dive on into the tablet settings, you'll see that it's running Android. Unfortunately, it's Android version 11. Yeah, Android 11, which I haven't seen on anything for quite some time. It's positively geriatric. This thing was out of date a year and a half ago. It doesn't matter quite so much on a device such as this compared with a smartphone, but I am slightly concerned that that means that security patching, for instance, might be out of date. Still, I gotta say, that interface, while it's not exactly buzzing with excitement, it is easy to get on with, it's intuitive. You've got a selection of pre-installed apps, all of the usual stuff, so a photo gallery, a music player. It's all pretty standard stuff, the kind of things you would find on a Kindle, but you will notice you've got full Google Play Store access. And that is certainly one of the main advantages of the Boox Tab X and the Boox tablets in general compared with the likes of a Kindle and some other ePaper devices. You can download any app you would like that you can find on an Android tablet. You can even, if you want, install Genshin Impact, though I really wouldn't bother. I tried that on a previous Boox tablet, it did not end well. But it's certainly good news for more creative users. You can download tons and tons of different sketching and design apps. Make the most of the old bundled stylus. And there's not much else going on. You've got some shortcuts down here to, again, your library, just like with the widget up there. You can fast access your files. You've got the settings menu here. You've got a limited amount of customization here, but you can change up the screensaver and the power off screen. So for instance, with the screensaver, you can change up the default image to one of your own personal photos. Otherwise, you can swap things out and just make it more like a standard Android always on display. And using this wee shortcut down here, you can jump on into the Onyx Bookstore. Don't get too excited though, because it's nowhere near as comprehensive as the likes of the Amazon store. You can't actually buy books on here. It's all just out of copyright stuff. A cheeky spot of Chaucer, what? But you can, of course, simply copy on any books that you own. And one of the reasons I really love the Onyx Boox tablets is the file support is fantastic. PDFs, EPUBs, this is a Mobi file, pretty much anything you bung on here will be supported. And that's especially good news if you're a comic book fan, because yes, the likes of CBZ files are also supported. So you can enjoy a good bit of graphic novel action, something suitably harrowing like a bit of Judge Death. And with 128 gigs of internal storage to play around with, you can absolutely load this thing with books, even big chunky graphic novels, all that good stuff. Of course, that's not expandable via micro SD memory cards, as there's no memory card slot. Now that 13.3-inch display, it's an ePaper screen, so exactly like the Kindle. It's front lit, and thankfully the lighting seems pretty well balanced despite the absolutely gargantuan size of this panel. And if you swipe down from the top here, you'll pull out the Onyx control center, which allows you to fiddle around with the likes of the color temperature. You can make things warm or cold, and when you do have that warm light on, it does seem to be ever so slightly warmer around the edges compared with the center. It is a very minor difference, however, and as you can see, you can scale up the brightness as well, and on that top brightness, certainly should do the job on a super sunny day. You've got a matte finish to the screen as well, so it is anti-reflective. From the control center, you can refresh the screen at any point as well. The Boox Tab X display has 4 different refresh modes depending on what you're up to. You can actually manually set which mode each of your third-party apps uses. The likes of HD and balanced only occasionally refresh the screen to preserve battery life, so that's good for, just reading a book, something like that. When you get onto the likes of games and videos, you want definitely a bit of fast mode or ultra fast, or even a bit of Regal action. Although I believe that Regal was actually designed for color eInk displays, especially good for reading graphic novels and the rest. It's a 2200 by 1650 pixel resolution display, giving you 207 dpi, so certainly sharp enough for enjoying a graphic novel, checking out your photos, whatever. And let's just try browsing the web and see what that experience is like. And naturally, a monochrome e-ink display isn't exactly the ideal way of browsing a website. As you can see there is some glitching going on as well. Photos appearing over the text, but it'll absolutely do the job in a pinch. And as you can see on the ultra fast refresh mode, it's fairly smooth and there's no obvious ghosting going on there. But what about our favorite YouTube? Can you actually watch a video on this bad boy? It's spurt in monochrome, baby. Well, persistent flickering aside, it is actually playing a video. Can't really argue with that. There's definitely some clear ghosting going on with this bad boy though, and as you can see, the visual's kind of grainy and dark and difficult to make out, which you might say if you're watching me is probably a bonus. And of course you do have those dual speakers around back as well, so let's just crank up the volume, see if they're any good. It's the smartphone equivalent of a pint of Heineken. It's perfectly inoffensive, but it's pretty much impossible to get excited about. I mean, they're not terrible. They'll certainly do the job if you are watching a video for whatever reason on this thing. And of course you don't have a headphone jack on the Boox Tab X, but you do have Bluetooth 5.0 support, so at least you can stream audio wirelessly. And so far, touch wood, the Qualcomm processor seems to be keeping up all right. Of course, you've got the natural slowness provided by the eInk display as you're waiting for everything to refresh, but apart from that, all good. And if you are interested in doing a bit of gaming on your tablet as well, let's see how that old classic Candy Crush Saga runs. And yeah, I certainly wouldn't recommend playing anything more complicated than the likes of Candy Crush, but it certainly works. Again, I've got that ultra fast refresh on the go, so the screen is handling it quite ably. Of course, one of the advantages of this enormous display is the fact that you can get all sketchy on it using the Pen 2 Pro bundled stylus with its 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity. Unfortunately, as you can probably tell, I have absolutely zero creative talent in my entire body. But even I can tell that this is a really good pen and paper style solution. It really does feel like you are sketching on paper. You've got that good tactile feedback when your stylus tip is dragging on that surface there. And the back end actually operates as an eraser as well, which is quite handy. And of course, one of the other benefits of having such an enormous display is the fact you can get a split screen mode on the go, which again seems to be handled absolutely fine by that Qualcomm chipset. As for battery life, well, you've got a sizable 6,300 mAh capacity battery crammed inside of the slender chassis of the Boox Tab X. And that should comfortably see you through a full day of play, even with mixed use. While shooting this video, the battery indicator's only trickled down 13%, and I've been streaming videos and reading graphic novels and all kinds of shenanigans. So all good. And that, my lovelies, in a nutshell, is the Onyx Boox Tab X, an absolute whopper of an e-ink tablet. And while you do have the freedom of a good bit of Android action, so you can download whatever apps you want on that Play Store, you've got the obvious limitations of that e-ink display, and the fact that it is older Android as well is slightly perturbing. And of course it ain't cheap either, but it'd be great to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a really wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!